Strongest sage with the weakest crest. Welcome back to AniRecapz. Like and subscribe so you never miss our quality uploads. A long time ago, after defeating a random high-class dragon, the ancient magician Gaius decided that he could not grow any further with his first crest. He then reincarnated using reincarnation magic. After regaining his memory on his 6th birthday, he has been studying every day to fight the powerful monsters. He now goes by the name Matthias and has the crest that he always wanted, the 4th crest. He then ventures out to go to the capital. His goal is to take the examination in order to enter the academy there. On the route to their destination, Matthias senses the presence of a calamity-ranked monster nearby. The wagon driver brushes Matthias' claim off, but when a big tiger-like beast confronts them, Matthias immediately deals with it, leaving the driver astonished. Arriving at the capital, Matthias enters a weapons shop where Alma begs the store owner Beast to repair her friend's broken magical sword. However, Beast refuses to repair it as it's impossible for him to do. Impressed by the swords sold in the store, Matthias overhears the conversation between the two, and when Alma requests a new sword, he offers to enchant it for her. Despite having an inadequate crest to do it, Alma insists that he do it with the Magistone that she has on her person. Beast tries to admonish Alma from allowing Matthias to enchant the sword, but Alma has faith in him. The two then sit at a table and introduce each other, and Matthias asks to be called Maddie instead of Matthias. Amid their conversation, Alma's friend Luri arrives and Alma introduces Maddie to her. Once Beast is finished with Luri's sword, Maddie immediately enchants it, which surprises everyone with how fast he managed to do it. Right as Luri was about to try it out, she accidentally slices the table they were sitting at in half, astonishing everyone. Claiming that he gave it a simple enchantment, Beast notes how Maddie accomplished this task not only quickly, but chantless as well. He then asks if Maddie would like to become an enchanter, but he flatly refuses. On the day of the exam, Maddie meets with Luri and Alma again. Luri manages to pass the fighting portion of the exam, and when it's Maddie's turn, he faces off against Guile. He mentions Maddie's father's name, noting he wishes to see how well this father taught him swordcraft. The two fight and Maddie easily wins because of the magical enhancements that he made to his sword during the fight. The next portion of the exam is a target practice, where participants need to cast fire arrows aimed at the 5 targets. Luri goes first, and with her first crest, she manages to hit all of the targets, and Maddie cogitates on how counterproductive the modern interpretation of crests is. For his part of the exam, Maddie casts a fireball spell due to the limited range that the 4th crest has. The end result leads a giant crater left in the center of the exam site. Afterward, now fitted with an academy outfit, Maddie runs into Alma and Luri, with whom together they attend the opening ceremony. Headmaster Edward gives a brief speech, and after it requests that MC head to his office once the ceremony is over. Anxious that he's going to be expelled for the incident where he destroyed the exam grounds earlier, despite repairing the grounds with his magic. In Edward's office, Edward recounts MC's accomplishments during the exam, but doesn't reprimand him nor pry any information on how he was able to accomplish such feats. Instead, Edward requests his aid in regards to the chantless spell casting, because the Academy follows its Academy curriculum, which denounces the use of chantless spell casting. This leads to why Edward wants Maddie's help. He wants him to become a teacher of chantless spell casting in preparation for the upcoming inter-school competition. Sometime later, Maddie demonstrates his chantless spell casting in front of the Academy students. And another teacher named Gazel also helps demonstrate. By dusk, Alma demonstrates to Maddie her newly learned chantless spell casting skills, and due to Luri running low on magic, Maddie transfers some of his to her. This allows Luri to successfully cast a chantless spell to destroy a target. On the day of the inter-school competition, Maddie senses a demon somewhere within the arena grounds. As it so happens, Maddie faces off against the demon named Devilles, who was disguised as a human with a 1st crest along with his cohorts. Maddie instantly finishes off the cohorts with a single spell and provokes Devilles to cast nearly a spell without chanting. Again, Maddie provokes the demon by making him use chantless spells and deducing that the demons want to make human spells weaker. Using a spellbreaker, Maddie dispels Devilish human disguise, and the newly exposed demon tries to escape only to be beaten by Maddie before he's able to do it. While the students and some of the faculty surround the dead body of Devilish, Maddie is hugged by Lurie for beating the demon in disguise. Later at the royal castle, Maddie and Edward are allowed an audience with the king, who wanted to grant Maddie a fief, but that would cause a panic within the kingdom. That was mainly due to the recent news of demons infiltrating their ranks as normal citizens. Instead, the king grants Maddie's request for all rights to the possessions gained within the dungeon. Once that's settled with, the king asks for Maddie's opinion on the disappearance of the 4 magical chosen ones. It's the king's opinion that since the appearance of magical chosen ones several hundred years ago, demons have slowly managed to infiltrate human society. From Maddie's internal monologue, during Maddie's past life, he drove the demons to the brink of extinction. It's speculated that the remaining demons infiltrated human society and spread magical misinformation, causing humans' magical power to wane over time. Although the king believes that the situation involving the demons has been resolved, Maddie clarifies that the situation is durer than ever. In Maddie's opinion, if the demons believe that it's no longer necessary to masquerade themselves as humans, their next move would be mustering their forces for an all-out attack that would destroy the kingdom. Maddie surmises it'd take 3 months for the demons to gather enough forces to accomplish this task. With the situation looking bleak, Maddie assures the king that what's needed is a barrier that would cover the entire kingdom to protect it. All that Maddie needs to cast the barrier is a divine-class artifact and the help from all second-year students to project a permanent barrier around the kingdom. Preparations for this task can be completed within a month's time and suggests that the students continue learning chantless magic. Taking what Maddie said into consideration, the king appoints him the leader of the fight against the demons. Inside the castle treasure room, Maddie finds a couple of old artifacts that he created in his previous life. Those artifacts are a magical sword and a pendant, which is a magical accessory that greatly increases the XP from battle. Later outside, Maddie oversees the students of the academy practice chantless magic. Both Lurie and Alma then approach Maddie about what they heard from Edward concerning the barrier. Maddie confirms it and claims that he'll be exploring a dungeon to collect the necessary items for him to accomplish it. The news surprises the two, and Maddie has an epiphany to have the two of them join him as a party to explore the dungeon with him. At first, the two are reluctant to join him due to their self-confessed inadequate fighting capabilities, but after giving them some tips on archery and enchantment magic, they agree to the offer. Eventually, the group makes it to the dungeon, and their MC fetches a tiny monster, and they use it as target practice. She's tasked by MC to kill 2 monsters with a single arrow. MC teaches her how to filter and compound the dungeon material or its ore into metal. By doing this, they gain mithril and iron clusters, and MC promises to teach her how to make the newly acquired ore into enchanted weapons. And Lurie then makes some plated armor for her and Alma. MC then announces that they'll be hitting the 10th floor of the dungeon and will serve as a test for the skills that they've learned to that point. During their way to the 10th floor, both girls excel in their combative capabilities and gain enhanced XP due to the pendant MC war. Soon the group faces off against a dog, and due to the cooperative teamwork between Lurie and Alma, they manage to kill it. Once the killer wolf was dealt with, MC sets up camp and leaves temporarily to explore deeper parts of the dungeon. Down in one of the lower floors, MC and adamantite and gets interested by the presence of a boss monster on the floor below where he was currently. Following his interests, MC goes down a floor and faces off against the boss monster, which is an arc serpent. The battle against it is tough, but MC in the end wins against it. 2 demons feel a massive burst of magic, but think nothing of it as it's figured that humans are incapable of wielding such potent magic in that day and age. Upon returning to the 2 ladies, MC shows them the corpse of the boss monster he defeated, which shocks them immensely. Maddie, Lurie, and Alma visit the local adventurers guild to turn in the goods they found during their time in the dungeon. The receptionist there mistakes Maddie as the porter of the party, to which he claims that he's carrying his own material and summons the severed head of the arc serpent from his inventory. Outside, the receptionist appraises the arc serpent head and then the magistone that came from the body of the boss monster. Although believed to be equivalent to a national treasure, Maddie claims it's not big enough to power the barrier to protect the kingdom. Despite the receptionist claiming the guild doesn't have funds to buy what Maddie's party provided in the end, they still earn 750 gold. While walking back to the academy, it's decided that the money will be split 3 ways, and after that was settled, Maddie notices the presence of 2 powerful demons. After a brief moment, both Luri and Alma sense it too. Up in the sky, demons Ashril and Deshril plan on launching an attack on the Royal Academy. Back to Maddie's group, Maddie gauges their power and warns that one of them is stronger than Devili's. The group then separates into 2 groups, where Maddie plans to face off against Ashril and both Luri and Alma will face off against Deshril. Wasting no time, Maddie confronts the 2 demons and goes on the offensive. He manages to take control of the fire spell cast at him by Ashril with one of his magic control spheres and propels the spell back at Ashril. Furious that Maddie attacked his master, Deshril tries to attack Maddie, but is instead struck by a couple of arrows shot by Luri. The arrows have a waning power effect on Deshril, and he's then tasked by Ashril to deal with the girls while he deals with Maddie. Alone with Maddie, Ashril starts to cast a large spell that's great enough to destroy his control spheres, but Maddie casts a small fireball at the spell's weak point to destroy it outright. As Maddie gets the upper hand in the battle, Ashril tries to escape, but is stopped by the elusive control spheres that Maddie scattered across the battleground. When Maddie tries to attack Ashril again, he reveals the concealed spell-casting circle that he was cast protects him. The 2 continue skirmishing until Ashril decides to stop it then, and he's then encapsulated in what's called an occlusion orb. It manages to floor Ashril to the ground, and when he tries to cast a sacrificial spell to summon monsters, Maddie cancels it out as well. Focusing on the girls' fight against Deshril, their guerrilla tactics against him work greatly, and in the end, Maddie steps in to help finish things off against the demon. Although the demons were dealt with, the battle against them drew attention from onlookers around the city, hence Maddie takes the girls in his grasp and uses a levitation spell to flee the scene. The following day, Maddie, Edward, Luri, and Alma are granted an audience with the king, who offers Maddie another reward for his group's recent accomplishment. After carefully contemplating it over, Maddie requests more dungeons and the king honors his request. Turning his attention to the girls, the king asks what they'd like, and both Luri and Alma decide on money for their reward. Once that was settled with, Maddie calls out the demon spies surreptitious watching their conversation. Because the demon refuses to reveal itself, Maddie disrupts the magical visual feed cast to watch their conversation, making him scream in pain. The king recognizes the voice as Elhart, former captain of the Magic Order. Astonished by this, Maddie explains to the king how Elhart was able to accomplish this feat. Gauging the coordinates of the location where the spell was cast, Maddie asks the king what location it would be. The king answers that it's a ruined village. Although the distance from the castle to the village is a great one, Maddie has a backup plan that'll help them reach their destination in no time. Maddie and the party then head to a dark and desolate location while Edward and the academy students prepare 1.5 tons of mithril in his absence in preparation for the barrier. Within the desolate location, the group finds a giant black dragon and Maddie talks with it, revealing it to be an old acquaintance of his from his previous life named Iris. After Maddie repairs Iris' tattered wings as much as he so can, Iris allows the party to ride on her back and rides at a slow enough speed so that they don't die in the process. Upon reaching the ruined village, Maddie instantly deals with the demons stationed at the watchtower. Luri, Alma, and Iris watch this accomplishment in utter shock and amazement, noting the magical presence that Maddie felt there is the same from the castle. Maddie notes that one is Elhart, who would pose a little threat, but the other would be more of a challenge. Amid this contemplation of his, Maddie is nearly struck by Iris, who crashes into the small tower that he stood by. Iris crashed into the tower because of her being out of practice for landing. Inside the small tower, Maddie establishes a telepathic communication line with Luri and Alma. Furthermore, he gives Alma a casting circle as a way to go on the offensive. Within the next room, Maddie tells the two to stay quiet as the enemy is using a concealment spell to hide their magical power and presence. Asking if either of them senses a spot where there seems to be scarce magical power, Alma informs Maddie that there's one in the corner. Maddie then unveils the demon's presence, who still believes he's still invisible to the group and is then shot in the forehead by Luri's thread chant arrow. Upset that his cover was blown, the demon figures that Maddie is really a fake, as the real one was still in the capital. The demon then attacks Maddie as he instructs the girls to go on the offensive with enchanted arrows against the demon, who believes Maddie to be an imposter. As the demon continues to attack Maddie, enchanted arrows are shot into its back, causing his internal magical power to agglutine it. Left with no other alternative, the demon casts Disfortune, which transforms the demon into a bigger, bulkier form and gains tremendous power in exchange for the user's lifespan. The demon then tries to attack Luri and Alma, but what he attacked was an illusion made of magitoxins. Luri then finishes the demon off with an arrow at the demon's head, and Maddie calls the demon by his name Elhart, instructing Luri and Alma to ride on Iris while he takes care of the final demon. Maddie prepares for the upcoming battle by crushing a few magistones to create a magical calamity. This causes the remaining demon to disperse from his mist state. The two briefly talk and then start the battle, where the demon gets the upper hand on MC and cuts off his left arm. Confident in his position within the battle, the demon offers MC a choice in how he'd like to die, but MC, after analyzing the situation, reattaches his arm, which surprises the demon. Internally, MC claims that he imbued his severed right arm with a healing spell and an analysis spell, all while dodging incoming attacks from the demon. Astonished that he's unable to land a single blow on Maddie, MC reveals how he allowed him to slice off his arm. He then cuts the demon's right wrist with his sword laced with some magitoxin believed to be the same kind used on Elhart. Backed into a corner, the demon casts Magic Circuit Overload, a more advanced spell than the one Elhart used on himself. Once the spell is cast, the demon shrouds the area in mist while concealing his presence, but Maddie easily cancels it out. Maddie also reveals that the substance used on him earlier wasn't the same toxin used on Elhart, but one that draws in excess magic to the afflicted's body, causing it to explode. What's left behind after the demon explodes is a giant magistone, and Luri leaps off of Iris to jump onto Maddie. After Luri joins the two, Maddie informs the two about the magistone called the Dragon Vein and explains its backstory. It's deduced by Maddie that the spell circles carved into the vein reveal that the demon's objective was to create a horde of monsters. The number of monsters in the horde was said to be about 5,000 by Maddie, and the target area would be the capital. Despite the girls' worry about the horde, Maddie informs them that the spawn point was moved by 10 kilometers due to the explosion caused by the last demon's explosion. Riding on Iris back again, the group head back to the capital, but Iris asks what she should do once she drops them off. Hence, since Iris is capable of casting a human transformation spell, he suggests that she join the academy. Although Iris is a bit hesitant, she still agrees to the offer in the end and transforms into her human form, in full nude. That night, the group, now with Iris, turn in the spoils from their demon hunt to Edward, who praises Maddie for his good work. Maddie then asks to have Iris transfer into the school, and Edward allows it so long as she passes the entrance exam. Although Maddie agrees to the condition, he asks to be present during the exam to make sure that Iris is able to control her magical output during it. Outside, Alma asks why Maddie omitted the monster horde from Edward, and he claims that he felt it best to inform him of it after Iris passes the exam. He also applies a fake second crest mark on Iris' hand, just like Devili's had. On the day of the exam, Iris flops on the written part. On the sword battle part, she knocks her opponent into the roof tower. This makes Edward question if she's a normal girl or not. Finally, in the magic casting section, Iris casts a couple of spells that backfire, and the final spell she casts destroys the entire magical target ground. In the end, however, Iris passes the exam. In the dungeon where the students of the Second Royal Academy excavate the place, Maddie gets an update of the current situation from Edward. As it turns out, the most efficient crest for the task is the Crest of Glory is scarce due to the First Royal Academy having a monopoly over them. Maddie then asks if it's possible to ask the First Royal Academy to enlist some of its students to help their cause. Although Edward is conscious of the relationship with said academy, he says that he'll honor it for the sake of the mission and will have the king intervene. Eventually, Fachus, the head of the First Royal Academy, abruptly enters Edward's room and chastises him for summoning him. When Edward reminds him that there is no hierarchy between the academies, Fachus again chastises the Second Royal Academy as inferior, giving Maddie a flashback of how his older brother Bifur behaved. However, Edward skips the hogwash and requests Fachus help to erect a barrier around the kingdom to protect it from the oncoming demon invaders. Of course, Fachus refuses, still holding onto the hierarchy. Hence, MC proposes a competition to settle the matter, and Fachus agrees to it on the condition that MC and his party don't participate in it, calling him a monster. Despite Edward's hesitance, Maddie agrees to it and Fachus sets the competition to be in 2 days' time. On the day of the competition, the large number of First Royal Academy faces off against the Second Royal Academy's mere 5 students. The students' crests were comprised of ones with the second, third, and fourth crests. At the start of the make-up interim battle, the First Academy all start the incantation for Fire Arrow, only for the Second Academy students to surprise them with wordless casting, easily winning the match by overwhelming their opponents with their chantless magic. Refusing to accept the end result of the battle, Fachus claims that all 5 of the Second Academy students were monsters and that he specifically demanded no monsters. Edward then states that none of the Second Academy students' ability are significantly greater than any other. When Fachus demands for proof, he then demands that Iris take part in the battle. After she says she didn't bring a weapon, Maddie gives her Edward's sword. Right when she unsheathes it, she bends the blade like a limp noodle. This causes Fachus to lose his composure and call Iris a monster, much to her chagrin. Edward then questions Fachus on why the Fist Academy students are still using incanted magic, despite the king's orders to switch to wordless casting, whereas Fachus argues that it follows the educational principles of the kingdom, and that he must protect it from the other inferior crests, even if it goes against the king's order. The king then appears, asking if Fachus has decided to disobey orders. Having been exposed as a traitor, Fachus tries to defend himself, only for the king to have his guard seize him. As he is dragged away kicking and screaming, Fachus curses the Second Academy, swearing that they will pay. From there, the king orders the First Academy students to work with the Second Royal Academy and receive chantless magic lessons. Eventually, Maddie is accompanied by Iris, Alma, and Luri while exploring the deeper caverns of the dungeon. Their goal in the dungeons is to get a magistone that's 60 centimeters in size. How they'll get a stone of that size is by summoning a monster. The girls then face off against some dungeon monsters as Maddie evaluates them and notes how poor Iris' control over her strength is. With an adequate-sized magistone, Maddie has Luri cast a casting circle around it.
We'll continue the next part in next few days. Meanwhile, subscribe and enjoy our other contents posted in our channel. Until then, stay safe. Bye.